making eating fun. Zoo Pals! Zoo Pals! Zoo Pals! Zoo Pals! Zoo Pals!
Hi, this is 14-year-old Liam, and I really am lame, but, when I'm not being lame and wondering why girls think I'm weird and gross, I'm listening to Liam's live streams. Yeah, I'm listening to my stuff in the future. I wonder what I'm going to grow up to be. Maybe I'll be an astronaut.
I can never find the switch. Let me go to the camera. There we go. Hi, good morning. Welcome to Chatting with Viewers. Apologies if we're quiet. Hold on. I think this got turned down just a smidge tidge. Yeah, okay, there we go. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Chatting with Viewers. Today is April 5th, 2025. We missed 404 Day. That was yesterday. We should have done
we were here for it. We just didn't do anything for it.
I don't know. I kind of felt like I was mentally not here yesterday, honestly.
I was trying to be as much as one can be.
It's been a week. Let me move this mic just a smidge tidge. There we go.
Yeah, when you're at work, you have to mentally be there as much as humanly possible.
Yeah,
once the workday's over, all bets are off.
It's been a week. John says hello, everybody. Nice intro song. Did AI make that? No, that's
The Zoo Pals one, yes.
The Zoo Pals one, but the light at the end that we played, that is, by the way, if you followed my streams for any amount of time, that song means something. And that song means that Liam is either going away for a bit or going on a vacation or a break or something. We are going to Chicago on Friday. We're going to go see my family.
Oh, was I supposed to say
something?
something?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say... I was waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, that's where we're going. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, so we're going to be traveling. We're going to go see my family. We are going to see some of your family too, actually.
Yeah.
And I just want to say hi. Gustav is here, or Gustav. Gustav Jensen says, your Danish viewer, I can't talk today, and John Dillerman knower is here.
Yeah, check out last week's
oh
chatting
my gosh.
for more on that. Or something.
I don't know, man. I don't know about John Dillerman, but it's interesting. Luca Alberti is here. Hey guys, hope all is well. Maddie will be watching this yet again during a workout, and that's really it. I don't know if you shared that before. If you want to, what is your current employment? So we both work for the same company, just in different roles. I am a quality assurance analyst, so essentially I look at things and make sure they work. And if they don't work, I write reports about why they don't work, and sometimes help try to fix them in certain ways. I don't actually do the fixing, but I sometimes
provide
make suggestions.
Feedback on.
I do. I provide feedback. But I am a quality assurance analyst. And Alyssa, what do you do?
I am a technical support specialist.
So you specialize in technical support?
Yeah. So when stuff is not working, I communicate with those customers via phone or email.
Yeah. Rich is here. Rich says, hope you guys have been well. Missed quite a few Chatting with Viewer streams. Yeah, we're doing good. It's been a crazy few months, but things are good. Work is solid. Keeps us in beans and bacon. Like I said, we're going on a trip next week. So we're not going to be here. We're not going to be here next Saturday, and I cannot guarantee.
Jury's out on the following Saturday, right?
I can't guarantee because we're taking a week and a day off work. So we're leaving the 11th and we're coming back on the 16th. Yes. But we're literally taking off.
We're taking a vacation followed immediately by a staycation.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It really is. It's going to be like 2 vacations in one, and we need it. I think we both have been working hard, and
anytime you have, especially a full-time job, there does come a point where you just need to go do something else for a little bit. You need to. and we both, work from home, so we are surrounded by this stuff like pretty much day in, day out. And so getting away for a little bit and not really having to focus on that is a good thing.
Yeah, it helps. Some messages came in. Hi-Fi Tone says, will there be a deep dish in your future? So I don't know about that, actually. Man, that's a good question. I don't know if we're actually going to have pizza. We're definitely having Italian beef. That is
it sounds like we might at Giordano's, unless we're getting something that's not
I was
pizza.
going to get like a salad, because I was thinking about maybe Tuesday night ordering Lou Malnati's to the hotel.
Okay, so then we might get pizza.
Might get Lou's.
Jury's out on what it's going to be.
I kind of feel like I got to get Lou's once while I'm there. But it is ironic, we are going to a pizza place. I will probably just get like a sandwich, or I'll just get a salad. I actually like their chicken Caesar a lot.
Ooh, good to know.
I might snag that. Stephen Crouch says, hello. Gustav Jensen is my full name. So is it Gustav or Gustav? Is it an oo or an Like, is it like Gus? Or is it like goose, like duck, duck, goose? I also want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Like, I don't want to pronounce John's last name wrong. We've done that already. John...
Follis.
I'm scared to say it now, because I have screwed it up. Like, follow? Like...
Yes.
No, that would be more... Yeah, Follis. Like, I'm just scared I'm going to
Fall
say...
us.
Fall us. Okay. Or...
Hope anyone in the States has been staying safe with all the weather.
Yes.
Things have been
my gosh, the weather's been bad.
Nutsoid.
So do you both provide feedback on the embossers and braille displays?
No.
I don't want to get into the particulars of what I actually, like, what I work on.
Yeah, I'm just going to say no.
Okay.
I think
I'm just going to say, like, we do a lot of stuff.
We do a lot with a lot.
I mean, I've definitely mentioned Monarch, and I'm not afraid to say, like, I deal with Monarch, but I don't need to get into what I deal with.
Yeah. Now, there are times where, a customer might say, hey, I'm noticing a thing, and I may go to someone, is this a bug? Or, they have a suggestion for a future feature request or something, and I will pass that information along, but there are no guarantees as to what will happen as a result of that.
Lucas says, sounds like you both deal with KEOS every day. Keys? I don't know what you mean there. I'm sorry.
Chaos, maybe?
Chaos. Oh, maybe. Kios.
It depends. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's super fast-paced levels of chaos.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I like trees. Gus reminds me of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I know it was a random question. No, it's a good question. I just
I think no matter what you do, there are things you deal with, and John said his was a random question. Is it worth getting a pie through them through Goldbelly? I'm not familiar with what Goldbelly is. Lou Malnati sells their own pies, I thought. My second was closest to be right. Gustav? So it's an like a Gustav. So is it like OO or UH?
I think it's like, so I don't think it's Gustav, and I don't think it's Gustav. I think it's like Gustav. Like
Gustav?
Like, I think so. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't know. We'll just go with it. So, yeah, I don't tend to like to directly discuss. I mean, I can't tell you what I'm working on, because a lot of what I'm doing is not publicly out there yet. And some of the stuff that is, still can't talk about it.
And I don't want to say anything that, would cause any concern to anyone anywhere.
Dragon Cat with a good question, and it's kind of I have a loaded answer for this one. Who is hyped for Rhythm Heaven Groove next year? I am, but I'm not. I'm actually a little scared. So, my problem is like, I don't have a Switch. And let's talk about it, because I made a statement, and hey, I love being wrong.
Sometimes.
Last week, I said, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to have a screen reader. Guess what? I was wrong. And I love being wrong. I really do. It is nice to be wrong, because, again, if you acknowledge that you're wrong, you grow. When we don't acknowledge that we're wrong and we choose not to acknowledge it and grow from our mistakes, then we stagnate.
Or if we double down on our mistake,
yeah, or we double down
because we know it's a mistake. I've seen some very non-understanding people do that in a very unfashionable way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I was wrong. Switch 2 is going to have some form of screen reading. So let's be careful, because the screen reader, when you start it up, already says, hey, I only support certain screens. So I'm hoping it is not going to be like the PS4, but anyone that remembers the PS4 remembers what that's like. And it was not good. So don't... I am carefully optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. The Switch 2 is going to be a lot of money. There is the potential for the Switch 2 to be even more money. And we're not talking about that on stream. Okay?
Just know that it's possible.
It is potentially going to be more expensive than we first thought. Hopefully that's not the case. But it could be. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We don't do politics here. But yeah, so I think it's going to be expensive. I also am hoping that Rhythm Heaven will stick to being accidentally accessible. So one of my concerns is I'm hoping they don't do hey, there's a 3D world you walk around in, or hey, we've taken away some of the audio cues and replaced them with visual cues. I don't think that's going to happen, but I am concerned about what does the UI look like? Is it something we can actually play? So I am going to wait. I don't have that kind of money to be like, I'm going to go get a Switch 2. Because let's be honest, if I got a Switch, what am I going to play on it? I already have Mortal Kombat. I don't play Mortal Kombat. I don't really like it that much. I'm disappointed with 1. I want to like it, but I can't.
Yeah. If money's going toward anything, it's going to be an epic soundbar.
Oh, I want a soundbar. Okay, cool. I could play 1, 2 Switch. But even then, it's not fully accessible. Let's see. What else could I play? Yeah, that's really it. I mean, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. Like, I know...
You don't want to play Animal Crossing? I don't even know if they still make that
Actually,
game.
I do want to play Animal Crossing.
I don't know if you can. That's the...
You can, apparently... There is a way to do it.
My sisters were obsessed with
I would
that
love
on the
to
Wii.
play Animal Crossing and tell Tom Nook to go screw himself. Oh, wait, I probably shouldn't have said that on stream. Dude, no one likes Tom Nook, though.
Is that the annoying mole that screams at you if you didn't save?
I think Tom Nook is the one that, like, gouges you for money.
Oh. Because I know, like, my sister-in-law one
mole.
time forgot to save on her DS, and actually, I think it happened a couple times, because, like, one time she just closed it, the second time the baby started crying. This was many years ago. That baby is now, like, 14, but she forgot to save, and all of a sudden I just hear this... I'm like, what the world is that? She's like, it's the mole screaming at me for not saving my game.
Oh, Goldbelly is like Uber Eats, but on a national level. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would also look to see what Lose will charge you. Because it may be more cost-effective to buy it direct from the company. Just something to think about. But if you're going to get a pizza, get Lou Malnati's. Unfortunately, I don't think they ship their butter crust. Their butter crust is so good. I was telling my lead yesterday, because he's going to Chicago. He's in Chicago right now, actually. And I was like, hey, are you guys going to get Lou's or are you going to go to Portillo's? And apparently Mark wants...
Mark's not going.
No, other Mark.
Oh, other Mark.
Yeah. Silent Mark.
Yep.
Other Mark.
Engineer Mark.
Yeah. Engineer Mark. He wants Lou's, which is a good choice. And so I told him, I'm like, yeah, pay the buck, get butter crust. You will appreciate it. Let's see. Rich says, I hope the reader is good. I've always liked the concept of the Switch, but I don't... Never...
Oh, dryer.
Oh, Oh, it's done?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just heard our dryer's name. I forgot. I thought I ran Crazy Ira, but I didn't. I ran the other one.
If any of you've ever watched Parks and Recreation and like the bits about the morning time DJs, you understand exactly what happened.
We have Crazy Ira, and we have Crazy Ira's companion as our dryer. So our washer is Crazy Ira. Our dryer is the other one, which I don't think I could say that on stream. I'm not sure. I mean, it's my own stream. I can say what I want.
It's describing it without saying it is no better.
No, it's actually worse to describe it. So the morning show on Parks and Rec is Crazy Ira and the Douche.
And so we named the washer and dryer
Crazy Ira and the Douche. And it's just worth it to hear the smart speaker go like the douche is done.
Yeah. So there you have it.
I'm also happy some Cube games are going to be on the Nintendo Online thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, not that I'm going to promote pirating, but like you can play them on a computer now, and you don't have to deal with like an inaccessible interface. Like RetroArch is your friend, and Dolphin does work in that. Also, Dolphin works standalone. I don't know. I'm not excited. Like, I'm more excited about Rhythm Heaven. I love Rhythm Heaven. I just got back into playing Mega Mix again, and I forgot how much I like it.
Yeah, if any of you were not here last week or missed it, Bits and Bops got another feature, and actually I played Bits and Bops. Yeah,
Alyssa played Bits and Bops. I think when Bits and Bops comes out...
Didn't horribly suck, except at Flipper Snapper.
I think we need to do a launch stream when that comes out. Get you on and we'll play Bits and Bops, and maybe we'll take turns or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, that's exciting. I'm happy that it's getting a screen reader. Again, I'm very cautiously optimistic. I don't trust Nintendo. They've made it pretty clear how they feel about accessibility.
It sounds like if I have to.
Well, and we need to meet the 21st Century Video Communications Act. And so I want you guys to remember that. Like, understand what that actually means. And essentially, all that has to be made accessible is if a product has chat, you need to make it accessible to get to that chat. But you don't have to make things around that accessible. So really understand what it means for us, because there's this kind of like misnomer that like, well, they have to make everything talk. No, they don't. They only have to make certain things talk. I've noticed that companies are being a little better about making more stuff work. But again, they're under no obligation to do it. They have to do the bare minimum, and like that's it. That's all. And I believe the Switch came out before that went into effect. I can't remember the how they got a pass on that.
Isn't it kind of like the same thing as for like audio description? Only a certain amount of programming has to have it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of choose what, like, the station gets to choose what programming that is.
Correct. Yeah. So
and they only have to have so many hours.
There's limitations on like what has to be done, and some people go above and beyond,
which is great.
But like Nintendo, and maybe if somebody's tuned in that's more of a Switch, like if Starlock were here, he could tell me because he's a nerd and he knows all this stuff. But the Switch, I don't think currently has online chat. I don't think it has it. Now, because the Switch 2 is supposed to have it with the little C button, I believe that is why we're getting a screen reader, because they have to be able to allow... And I forget, somebody who knows this stuff better than me can give the technical explanation, but my understanding is if your device contains communications features, those communications features need to be made accessible, and a path to accessing them needs to be made accessible, and that's it, I think. If somebody can give me the technical explanation of that, I'm all for it. Werner says, hi, Liam and Alyssa. Hi, Werner.
Hello.
They should have to. It's not entitlement, but we do pay the same price as everyone else. Yeah, I'm going to say I think that's really unpopular. and you guys have heard me say this before, but we don't matter. We're not important. We are a very small market. We don't bring in companies any money, and so we don't matter. I actually, when I was getting interviewed by the BBC, they had, they asked me, they're like, hey, what do you think would solve the problem for underrepresentation? And remember I told you about this? And this,
yes.
This is, I don't talk about this interview because it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I was not quoted the way I felt that I should have been quoted, and it caused some issues that I didn't want to deal with. But essentially I told the writer, I said, listen, you want change. I said, here's what you do. You launch a satellite into space, it fires a giant laser, and it blinds about 20 million people in, like, worldwide. Then you will get your change, because there will be a need for change. So you blind 20 million gamers, there's your market. But until you have about a few more million people that need the services, there's no incentive to make them, because there is no financial incentive. So, well, we're not getting a disability discount, nor should we. I don't believe in disability discounts.
And it is unfair, but it is the way
Rich
of things.
says we're not getting a disability discount, though. If somebody is paying, if they're paying $1,000, everyone pays that much. Yeah, well, that's fine. Why, again.
I get it. It's like, why are you going to pay that much for a thing you can't use? But they don't care about that. That's the problem.
They don't. They simply don't care. So that's how you solve the problem. So, in other words, there's no realistic way to solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem organically, what you need to do is get your friends gaming, get your friends, writing into these companies and saying, we want to play games. But you need to be able to show that there is enough margin for financial gain / loss to make change.
And a lot of blind people don't care about
gaming. No.
Like, I don't really give two squats about gaming.
No, you really don't.
I think it's cool that there's ability to do that. It's just, it's never something growing up that I cared very deeply or passionately about. And to this day, like, I had fun with bits and bobs, but that doesn't suddenly mean I want to go try all these games and, like, develop a new hobby.
No, and some people just aren't into it.
And so that narrows your target audience even smaller.
Other people are very into it. I mean, they really are. And I guess the argument you could use is, hey, Liam, I've seen some companies actually put more time into accessibility. Hey, awesome, as they should. But again, they're not getting anything from it. They're losing money on it. But if you're a company that, like, has buku bucks, maybe you can afford to lose a little bit of money because it looks nice and it's a nice human interest story. But the unfortunate thing is you're not gaining anything from it. So, like...
Well, we see the same thing, I'll dare to say it, with Apple and removal of the home button.
Oh, yes.
And people are really freaking out and displeased, and you have people saying, I want to petition Apple to put the home button back because I'm blind.
Yeah.
And though it is honorable to want your voice to be heard, I would be shocked to see them change that.
No, that's not going...
Especially
that
when
will
they
not change.
have a way to use it without the home button. It is a learning curve like anything else. Yes. But it can be accomplished.
But yeah, there is this, and I've seen it, and you've seen it, of the, like, well, like, why would Apple do this to us? Like,
they didn't.
No.
They didn't. They were looking at it from,
or there's been that whole belief of, like, our market is more important than it really is.
Well, and Apple didn't do it to us. They wanted to make an all-screen design, and that's just, this wasn't even a factor. But they made a way to still use it. So
it's not why are they doing this to us, but, like, why are they taking this from us? We're important. I think is really, when I've seen people go off about the home button, it's usually been we're blind people, we matter.
And I'm one of the first to say, if you need a quick lesson on how to use it without the home button, let me know. I've been doing this a number of years.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I taught this to
I'm the
people.
same way. Like, I've always said, like, I even replied on one of those. It was like, hey, I was an assistive technology instructor. If you feel like it's something that you're struggling to learn and want to talk to somebody, like, here I am.
Yeah, I was able to explain it to a low vision friend who had been trying to use more voiceover.
Yeah.
And after that explanation, she was like, wow, I've been trying to do this for years and I couldn't, and now I understand what it. And so part of it is putting it into the right words.
Yeah. But the other part is understanding that, like, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we are a very small minority. And also understand, too, that, like, let's talk about blindness for a moment, because I'm going through this on the deafness side, and I'm going through this with being deafblind. And so you have, as my counselor put it, and I love this, deaf with a capital D and deaf with a lower D. And so you have people that are deaf, and they are deaf. They use ASL, they use an interpreter.
And if they can hear, they don't tell you they can hear.
Right. But they don't use hearing aids, they are deaf. Notice I'm putting the emphasis on deaf. Like, they are deaf. And I'm not saying it louder because they can't hear me. Okay, that was kind of messed up, sorry.
Oof.
But, like, the fact is that, the emphasis is on deaf. Then you have people that are deaf, and they
with
are...
a lowercase d.
They don't hear very well. They legally are considered deaf, just like people that are legally considered blind. I'll get to that in a moment. But, like, they can still hear, but their hearing is impaired.
And maybe they use cochlears or hearing aids.
Also, that's a thing you'll hear is hearing impaired.
Now it's hard of hearing.
I haven't heard that term in a long time. Hearing impaired. But yeah, so maybe they use cochlears. Maybe they, are going to get a hearing aid that will cross over noise to their left ear so they can still use their good ear stuff.
Real world examples here.
Yeah. I wonder who that's going to be. So, like, you've got that.
Blind does it a little different. We don't have capital and lowercase
we
in the
do
same
and
way.
we don't.
But it's the same idea.
But it is. We would like to be a capital and lowercase, I think, because, like, some people I've seen say I'm blind and they're visually impaired. Other people I've seen are visually impaired, but they're blind. So there is no, like, I think there's no definition. So to me, like, blind is I can't see at all. Visually impaired is my vision is impaired. So I can see it, but I have impaired vision. It doesn't work 100%.
And then the question of that becomes, does visually impaired mean I can kind of tell there's a wall in front of me, or does it mean I can read this paper if I, like, magnify it really huge? Yep. What does that even mean? And
so the thing is that, like, the important thing that we have to understand is that there are different levels of blindness / visual impairment. And so, like, there are not all that many people that are going to fully rely on... Well, I don't want to say... Okay, let me be careful how I say this. A lot more people are going to rely on larger text and, like, high contrast than people are going to fully rely on speech and narration and stuff. I don't have numbers. I know one thing that Naughty Dog was working on was trying to collect metrics based off of The Last of Us, and I never got to see their numbers. But I would be interested in seeing... I'd be interested in seeing, like, what the numbers actually look like as far as, like, how many people are, we'll say, profoundly blind, because I've heard totally blind, but there's also profound blindness, right? Like, you can see light.
Yeah, and I might be able to see something in front of me if it's large enough. I can't see what shape it is.
But you can see that there's a blob. Like, there's a thing. Yeah. And so
a lot of times I will just say that I am total because it eliminates the questions that people are going to have. But, that works until I go, oh, it's sunny. And they're like, how do you know?
Yeah. Whereas I am totally blind, so I don't even see light. Like, literally, my eyes are just here for fun. They're here
for decoration.
Yeah, they're here for decoration. We haven't pulled them out of my head. There's no reason to do that. And so, like, I don't know. It's hard, and I am one of the people like, and I always when I talk to companies, I always say I have a belief that everyone should be able to game.
Yeah.
I think we should all be able to play together. I think we should all be able to enjoy a hobby. I think you should always be able to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. But you need to balance that with what is reasonable. So there's a great term that I always love in school and business, and it's reasonable accommodation. And what is reasonable? And that's always,
And sometimes it means different things to different people. Like, yeah, we would say I am, probably profoundly blind, but if you stuck something like printed in front of me, even if you magnify that up as big as it's going to go, I'm not going to know anything about that.
Where does the reasonable, where does that start and end? I mean, where is our reasonable accommodation start and end? So like,
and you see it a lot, especially in education environments, and parents want one thing, the district is like, we can only afford this thing, and does that constitute being reasonable, or do we need to get outside services? You see a lot of that.
So I mean, that's kind of the problem with the gaming stuff, and so it's like, I don't think we're gonna ever see fully accessible stuff. Like, and people ask me a lot, they'll be like, hey, I want to get into gaming, where do I start? Like, what can I play like fully accessible? And honestly, there's like very few games that I can recommend to people that like you don't require, whether it's a capture card, whether it's something else, that you can fully play 100%. Forza right now is the best one, honestly.
Trial works.
Forza, Forza, Mortal Kombat 1, and for the most part, Last of Us. Pretty much everything is red. I believe they've like most everything. But like, there are very few games, and so it makes it hard to justify getting a console. And because it's hard to justify getting a console, you don't have the numbers.
It's really a catch-22.
It is. It's gross.
Because, like, I'm not going to spend the money to get this when I can't play anything on it, but then guess what? I'm not adding to that need.
Yeah. So Lucas says, sadly, what's reasonable to us doesn't really matter. As you said, it all comes down to business gain and a few people's goodwill. And I mean, business is tough. I mean, listen, I'm going to talk about business for a minute because I make games, right? And so, you guys hear me talk about a lot. Like, I like making games, but making games doesn't make money. And whether we like it or not, I need to make money to pay bills, because guess what? This house that we live in has rent. Our utilities cost money. The food that we eat costs money. These things all cost money, and you all know this. I would hope. I feel like I'm not having to explain this to anyone. And maybe, and I'm going to say this with no judgment, maybe you live with your family, and maybe your family pays your rent, and that's okay. I'm not judging you. Don't think that I am. But the fact is that when you live on your own, you pay a lot more for everything because you're covering everything. When I lived at home, the electricity was paid by somebody else. The rent was paid by somebody else. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, when you do something that's a business, you have to think about your gain and whether you can live on it. And so, a company, I know they make buku bucks, but they also have to think about, like, hey, is what we're spending our money on going to give us a return? If we're spending more than we're taking in, is that worth our time? And the answer is no. If I gave you $100 and you had to give me $10,000 back, that's not a good use of your money, is it? Because, you lost $9,900. So this is the stuff that like companies have to think about. And, the only way that you'll ever really see change is through litigation and mandates. And how do you mandate that? How do you say you have to make your games playable for everyone? I don't know. And I don't know if you can. I don't think that's a reasonable.
Well, another side of it too is you see companies trying to do this, but they don't want to pay people for accessibility. And it's,
Yeah.
well, you'll be helping thousands of people, but guess what? The people building that accessibility also need to make money.
Yes. And remember that,
They're hoping that they can just pull in a volunteer.
Remember that, like, when somebody codes that feature for you, somebody makes something for that game or that product, that's time. And time is money. And in a lot of cases, when you work for a company, you have what's called a project manager. And the project manager determines the hours in which your programmer spends their time. So they might budget out... I'm just going to use, you know me, I like flat numbers. So they might budget out 100 hours for the project. And so, obviously, anyone that's worked knows you have a lot more than 100 hours on a project, but let's just say you have 100 hours. 10 hours are writing the engine. Another 30 hours are writing something else. Another 10 hours are writing this. So your hours have to be accounted for. And it's all based on budget. So a lot of people, because I've heard people go, well, why don't they just do this? Because it's not how it works. It has to go through a project manager who has to go, okay, you have 200 hours, but you only have 5 extra hours. What are we going to have you spend your time on? Because we're only paying you for X number of hours, because ultimately we have to budget the stuff and we have to show, whether it's our stockholders, whether it's our CEO, our CFO, where the money is going. And let me tell you, when you work for a big business, everything is like accounted for. I mean, I can just say, like, we have to account our hours.
Yep.
I have to account every hour that I spend. I have to put in a spreadsheet and say, for this many hours, I worked on squeaky blocks. I don't know, I'm just making up stuff. I like squeaky blocks.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. It's like...
Is it?
I had them as a kid. I don't know where they came from, but yeah, they were like these little squeaky, like, alphabet blocks or something.
You know,
they were not from our company.
Okay, I didn't think so. You know, hey, I had to spend this many hours on Braille Bob's Big Adventure. Like,
had to update my computer.
Yeah, I had to spend an hour updating my technology to the latest version of Windows 11. And then it like took 20 minutes to reboot, you know? So everything is accounted for. Everything is submitted. It's gross. Nikita Banana is here to say that bananas need to ripen in a certain way. Says, hey everyone. Hey Nikita, how about them Wranglers, huh? They're doing pretty well, I think. I don't know. I haven't really been looking at the Eastern Conference too much, but it seems like they're doing all right. How are they making less? People, well, simple, Rich. I'll answer this question. How are they making less? People using the accessibility in the game, like The Last of Us or God of War, spend the same amount of money. Correct, they do. But let's just say, it cost me $100,000 to add accessibility. This actually, by the way, when Rockstar was looking at adding accessibility to Grand Theft Auto 5, they determined that because they were done with the game. The game was done, right? The game was out.
So they were going to have to retrofit it.
They determined that retrofitting it would cost them $150 million because of the time that it would take and the man hours and the programmer hours that it would take, plus everything else that went into it. So let's just say it cost you $100,000 to add accessibility because you weren't smart and you had to retrofit it. All right, so $100,000. How many copies of a game would you need to sell to make that difference up? Let's just do some math. 100,000.
So what does the game cost?
So we're going to say it's $100,000 you spent. Let's say the game cost $70. That's how much games are now. They're expensive. So let's just say it costs you that much now. I am not factoring in any overhead. I'm not factoring anything else. You would have to sell 1,428.5714 games. That is before anything else that comes out. So remember, company sells a game for $70. They're not getting that $70. You guys know that. That's going into taxes. That's going into a lot of other stuff. That's going into your overhead. So you would need to sell that many games just to break even. And again, that's just flat numbers. Like, that's not even like counting. I don't actually know how much a developer gets from a game. Like, so if I go to KB Toys, KB Toys isn't around anymore, but okay, I go to Best Buy and I buy Super Mario Squishy Golf or whatever is out now. I don't know. Squishy things golf. That I don't know what's a
Gator Golf.
Super Mario Block Party or something. Squishy Block Party. And then, featuring Braille Bob.
Yeah. Blind Bob's Braille Adventure.
Oh, no. How much, does a company get from that? Like, what does a company see? Indies, it's different. They get more because, remember, the indie is indie. They're just selling their own stuff on Steam or whatever, and they'll have to pay their taxes and stuff.
But, and fees for it to be posted on Steam.
But I don't think you don't pay to publish. You just pay, Steam takes a certain amount.
Yeah.
You get everything else.
They get a cut. It's kind of like...
Got to pay your asset people. You got to pay your programmers, whatever. But, yeah, what does a company come out with? I think that's the big question. And I don't know. I don't know. And so that's the problem is, if you are smart and you build accessibility from the ground up, it's going to cost you a lot less because you're building as you build. But
there still has to be an incentive to do
there still has to be some sort of incentive. You've got to make that money back. And that's the, you're not in business to lose money. Anybody that has, ran a business, that has sold things, understands that you are not in business to lose money. You are in business to gain/maintain money. And so if you can't do that, then it's not going to work. So it's hard. I mean, ultimately, I get the frustration.
I'm here to say I get it as well. You can't even buy a coffee pot anymore without having to make sure it's not got a darn touch screen. The stuff's getting insane. But what do we do about it?
Yeah, Rich says indies seem to be more... indies seem to be a little more open to...
That's why.
Considering... Well, sure. And you know why indies are more open to it? Because, listen...
They have less to lose.
Well, and they have more to gain. So, Bits and Bops. If they sold 100 copies because of the blind players, that's a lot of money for them. I mean, that's $1,500. And remember that they don't have the same overhead that a AAA company does. An indie developer is not having to pay, for office space. They're not having to pay property taxes. They're not having to pay a lot of stuff. Jackbox, I guess technically they would be considered indie. I think they publish their own stuff. But, they have a lot of workers. They have an office. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They have a smaller office now than they used to. I heard they just moved, allegedly. I don't know if that's public knowledge or not. I guess it is now. But, they've got, their office and stuff, and that costs them a lot.
Oh, do you still have companies selling physical copies of things? Or have they really shifted away? Because I remember you used to, go buy a video game on, a DVD.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo still sells the Switch cards. Microsoft is still selling some DVDs and stuff. My PlayStation and my Xbox, yeah, that thing. They don't have drives in them. That's why we don't have a DVD player in the living room. That's why we can't watch Two Stupid Dogs.
I have a Super Drive.
Yeah, but I
still know what we can hook it up to.
We need I need to get a DVD player. I was not about to get...
I still have the Sony... What was it? Sony that had a talking one? Somebody had a talking DVD player. I don't know how much you're going to, pony up for that, but I heard there was
Stephen Crouch has a Mr. Coffee that literally just has a rocker switch.
That's kind of what I had at my apartment. It was something like that. And then I plugged it into a smart plug, so I turned my dummy coffee pot into a smarty coffee pot before Liam moved in. Oh,
Hitmen are doing well. We start semifinals next weekend. Who are you guys playing? Are you guys getting Medicine Hat? Or who are they playing? Buying appliances as a blind person is a chore.
Yes.
Our washer has sensors you can feel, but they're still touch. Yeah, ours
is touch.
is touch, but it has an app.
It has an app, and it has some tactile controls, and there are different tones that you can... If you really want to, you can learn where everything is. And
hey, you know, it'd be a great resource. To make it easy. There's this podcast called 404 Site Not Found. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think they've posted in like ages.
But they did a demo.
Are they even still active?
They did a demo of the Samsung smart washer and dryer. So you should check that out. I heard it's a really good podcast.
Yeah, if they ever like release any new episodes.
Yeah.
They've been very inactive lately.
Yep, the problem with appliances with apps is they could release a new version and break access. Absolutely, and that happens. But this is the world we live in. And so we got to just roll with it.
Thankfully, because it's Samsung, they do have some Braille as well. So, like, you can absolutely do anything on the normal cycle if you must.
You absolutely can. And you definitely, with some ingenuity, could definitely... Like, you could read the screen with it. With, like, seeing AI or...
Yeah, or get Ira to assist if you have a few minutes to
be my eyes or something.
Ira.
But it's just using your tools. I mean...
Yes, totally missed 404 Day for a Site Not Found episode.
Yeah, need to record that. I think the last one was our engagement episode.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a while.
We should record some stuff in Chicago.
Yes.
I don't know what. Maybe we'll figure out some stuff.
Yeah, and the funniest thing happened last weekend.
Should we record riding the train?
Oh my gosh.
That'd be cool. I haven't gotten to check out the new cars yet.
Yeah, maybe our Uber driver friend will give it a listen.
Oh, yes. So we actually had an Uber driver subscribe to our podcast.
Yes. It was the funniest thing. He said he was in school for IT. We were kind of chit-chatting on our way back from brunch. And when we pulled up to the house, like, most of you probably understand that the reason it's 404 is that our street address is a 404 number.
Yeah.
And as we're pulling up, he's like, 404, right? We're like, yeah. He goes, house not found. And I squeed.
And then I explained to him, and the conversation went like this. I'm like, it's funny you say that. We actually have a podcast called 404 Site Not Found, spelled SIGHT. There was this pause, and he goes, is it on Spotify? I'm subscribing.
Yeah, he's like, is it on Spotify? You said, yep. He goes, followed.
Followed, yeah.
He was a cool guy, too. He was, like, from Seattle area, if I remember correctly.
Nikita says, our machines are also Samsung. I didn't know you could control them with your phone.
Newer ones, yes.
I learned that from your podcast.
Wow.
So she actually didn't know that until she listened to our...
So there are still some older ones out there, like my coworker that loves all the nerdy techie stuff, I think has a slightly older set that doesn't do smart things. Yep. But he was like, yeah, the next ones we get will. His dishwasher is a smart dishwasher.
Oh?
I'm like, what?
I want a smart dishwasher. That'd be cool. Maybe when we buy a house.
Yeah.
If that ever happens.
If that ever happens, yeah, we'll
man,
get
the price of housing and the interest rate right now is insane.
Yeah,
and it's
not a good time to buy a house.
This is not a good time to do anything of any type, really. I mean, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
But
hold your horses, folks.
Yeah, just hold on. Yeah, it's kind of a pun on the... So it's actually 404 page not found, but...
People
think site not found, and I still think it's funny, SIGHT.
And we have bamboozled some people this way. Absolutely. Yes. Somebody went on the page and was like... The
page isn't working. It says 404 site not found. What's the correct link?
Yeah, can you fix it? It's like, no, that's absolutely correct. That is intentional.
Yeah, Rich says this is a seller's market right now. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to eventually get a house. We just don't know where.
That's the big
thing.
Question.
Do we stay here? Do we go to another state?
And if we do, where and why?
Do we end up in Louisville because work's going really good? Like, do we go back to Chicago and not be able to afford anything? What do we do?
Yeah.
You know?
Do we go live in a condo? Oh, I'm sorry. Do we go live in a condo?
I mean, I would not mind one if a few things were true about it. Like, it needs to be, like, quiet.
I also don't want to have to lug trash down the stairs. I'm over that.
Well, maybe they'll have a trash chute. So, I mean, just something to think about. It's very possible. You know, I wouldn't rule it out, but yeah, I mean,
There are a few things that we have really come to enjoy, I think, about having a house.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about having a condo is we won't have to do yard work. And we don't have to pay for it. Because that's what we're dealing with right now. Because, like, our lawn, I think our lawn is, like, dead.
Yeah.
I really need the lawn replanted.
I will say it makes it very easy for Ubers to find us because it's not, like, multiple condo buildings or anything like that. Like, literally, Uber can pull up and we can walk out the front door.
No, Rich. Rich says, choose Florida, no state tax. Never on your life. I will never live in that state. Listen, the storms that Florida gets are awful. I will never live in Florida. It is too hot. It is muggy. I always get sick. I'm always miserable when I go to Florida.
There's probably a lot of mold down there just from all the hurricanes.
The problem with Florida is that it's expensive. Great, you have no state tax. That's amazing. But guess what? The cost is made up in everything else. That's the problem.
You're getting Disney tax even if you're on the other side of the state.
You really are. I mean, that's the thing, and that's what gets you is like, cool. No state tax is awesome, but you have to look at cost of living. So if I say to you like, hey, we don't have a state tax, but to buy a house is $1 million. Oklahoma. I mean, the houses around here start at $250,000, and we've talked about our house a little bit. I think like this house is built in 2021. It's a single-story house, so no stairs, which is cool. No shelter, which is kind of uncool, but oh well.
The garage is not climate controlled, which is also grr.
That also sucks. And it's not so bad in the winter, but it's a problem in the summer because the sun hits it. And it is like the sun hits I don't know if it's the roof or
something.
What it hits, but let me tell you, you go in that thing, it's like being in a furnace.
Yeah, you're kind of boiling. But the inside of the house, yeah, it's like all new appliances, all new everything, 3-bed, 2-bath.
Yeah. Ebanator says it's ridiculous. In California, I've seen one-story houses go for $1.5 million. Yeah, no thanks. Hi-Fi Tone says Mesa for Arizona. They have seasons. Mesa is hot too. I mean, I've got friends in Mesa, and they're always bitching about the heat. I don't want hot. I really don't. I don't want 117 degrees.
That's a little toasty. I mean, it's gotten pretty bad here too.
Flagstaff, not Mesa. Okay. Yeah, I could see I could see like Prescott being okay.
We've seen it get over 100.
You guys get tornadoes, which are not as bad. Listen, I will take a tornado over a hurricane any day of the week. Tornadoes don't bother me. I mean, they're bad, but the thing about a tornado is that we talked about this with the fires. A tornado is like a line. A fire is like a massive swath of area. And the thing about a tornado is like if a tornado's coming, you can hide from the tornado. You can't hide from a fire.
Or from a hurricane.
No. And well, the thing about the hurricane is it does a lot of just long-term flooding and damage. Yeah. A tornado is not going to flood you.
I mean, I had a friend who lost her hearing because of mold damage.
I actually had my doctor in Missouri lost her hearing because of a tornado.
Yeah, she's in New Orleans, and she came back after Katrina, and because of all the mold from all the flooding, it really did a number on her hearing.
Hi-Fi Tone says, are you crazy? You can prepare for a hurricane and save some of your stuff, but a tornado is like a surprise attack and your house is gone. The thing about tornadoes, though, is like, I think statistically, the amount that touch down, I think, are a lot less than the ones that fly over. You
hear about what touches down because that's what makes the impact. It's kind of like plane crashes versus car crashes.
A lot of them touch down in really uninhabited areas too, like in a lot of rural spaces. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely if you're going to live like here, don't live in a mobile home or something. But we're building a lot of houses now to be more resistant to tornadoes. Like this house, though it doesn't have a shelter, has an internal closet. So you can go in there. They build them a lot stronger now. They have to. They have to follow codes.
And like I said, you hear more about it's the same thing with like planes versus cars. If a plane crashes, the impact is awful. You hear about it on the news. There are thousands of car crashes every day. You just don't know about it.
They're a blip on the traffic report. Oh, we got a 5-car pileup on the I-5 with gapers. Like, and that's it. But yeah, a plane goes down. You know, you hear about it because it's awful.
And it's why people are afraid of flying because, well, there's so many... You just don't hear about the cars.
But yeah, no, I grew up with tornadoes. I grew up with them. And they don't... You want to respect them. I think you need to respect the weather.
You need to respect the weather and its environment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Crocodile Hunter. And yeah, insurance...
Yeah, don't go stand on the porch and watch the storm.
If you live on one of the coasts of Florida, the insurance is expensive. Yeah, tornado prone areas, the insurance can be a little more expensive. But it's still... Again, it's not awful. It's not like
hurricane areas are worse.
It's not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. Like I guess California.
And you cannot tell them that it flooded because they're like, nope.
So I guess California, especially with like the fires and stuff, the insurance is insane. And they were, did you hear they were canceling people's plans? Yep. Like right before the LA fires. I mean, it was gnarly. But no matter where you live, you're going to have something. Unless you live in Colorado.
There were still fires out there.
I know, but like they weren't like they were nothing like the fires we had here. That was crazy. Because they don't get the wind like we get here because it's so flat.
Snow out there, but it doesn't stay around. It's just unfortunately, the cost of living out there is...
You guys might like the Pacific Northwest. I would love to live in the Pacific Northwest, but it is so expensive because the... especially like Seattle, the minimum wage is $19 an hour. And I'm not going to get into a minimum wage discussion, but I'm just going to say that Oklahoma's minimum wage is $7.20 an hour. It's the federal minimum. And cost of living is a lot cheaper. And most places honestly pay way over minimum anyways. I can't think of any places out here that pay $7.20 an hour. But when you raise, I've said I'm not going to talk about this, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to get into this because everyone has their own view on it, and I mean, everyone thinks they're right. So I think I'm partially right and partially wrong, but I just know in areas with higher cost of living.
Just a quick time update. We're at 11
o'clock.
Yep,
I just saw it. It's not as bad if you're in Central Florida. We get hurricane bans. Central Florida is not as bad. I mean, my mom lives in Kissimmee, and it's okay. She still had to scamper. I mean, she had to watch it and possibly leave because of the stuff last year because it was so far inland. But yeah, it was still bad. Washington State doesn't have a state tax either. Yeah, but again, $20 is their minimum wage, and like you would have to make so much more.
We were looking. That was one of the places that you were potentially interviewing for,
and they just if
you were looking at the prices even for like apartments, and it was
apartments were insane. North Carolina is another option with seasons that don't get oppressively hot. I was looking at North Carolina. That actually some parts are really good. They still haven't gotten back to me.
No, and that was last June.
That was I think I interviewed because remember I had 3 interviews in 1 week. That was in July.
Yeah,
and I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to hear back. Yeah. When I look at my application, it still says open. Just don't come to South Carolina. No, I want to go to your state. I don't like South Carolina.
Who said that?
Maddie.
Oh.
We have like a ton of South Carolina viewers, by the way. I don't know what is in the water in South Carolina, but the Irvin Army has a lot of people that listen or /watch from South Carolina. So it is 12 Eastern. We are going to the Oklahoma Council for the Blind meeting later. I know that probably sounds exciting.
I also think they're of the...
Is it of the?
I think council is also of the. Foundation is for the printing house is for the...
I'm just going to say for the because it's fun. Because it annoys everyone. I don't know. I don't care. Listen, they have the blind in them, okay? Like, I don't know if they're of the, with the, and the, for the. But you know what I do know is that they're not connected anymore in grade 2 Braille.
That's correct.
There are no more compound contractions.
And that actually makes sense. At first, I griped about it.
It does make sense.
I griped about it. I was like, well, you're taking up more space now, which is true, you are.
But you're writing it the way that it's written. Nobody writes the word of the, because it's not a word. And that's a problem.
And by the, that's by the other one. To the, or to anything.
Into is the only one that's an actual word.
Yes. But you don't use the to contraction before a word now either. And yeah, it's like, you don't do that in print.
So, yeah, we're going to the meeting today. We've never been to one. We have a few people that we know that are in, and I've been asked to go. And I'd like to check it out. They're doing a beeping Easter egg hunt in a couple weeks, which is kind of cool, you guys. I love beeping Easter egg hunts. Why do you think I made Super Egg Hunt?
Yeah, I've never been on a beeping Easter egg hunt.
I'm so sad that you've never been on a beeping Easter egg hunt. That makes me really sad.
Well, I also didn't grow up in Chicago where there was a lot of connected stuff.
I don't think there was a lot. I don't know who the heck ran that because...
Probably Lighthouse.
I didn't... No, it was Maine Township.
Really?
Because I never did anything with the Lighthouse.
Were there other blind kids in Maine Township?
I think there was like one. Maybe there was like 1.5.
Yeah, like Springfield, though we had a lot of like TVIs and stuff, a lot of your kids were large print users. That's what I will say about that. That's what I will call it.
Yeah.
So they really didn't do activities in the same way I did. You didn't have a lot of Braille users in the district.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I all I know is that I don't know. But that was the thing, I guess, is like, yeah, we had, and I think they used the Telepioneers eggs. So we're going to be stuffing Easter eggs today. We're going to be putting candy in them. And
I mean, we kind of modified, like, my mom...
I'm going to try not to eat the candy. Yeah. That's going to be difficult.
My mom had, like, a little timer. We'd do a hunt around the house, and she would put the timer by one of the eggs. So, like, she tried to make her own, which, good for her.
We had an Easter egg hunt. I'm going to tell this story on air.
Oh, no.
And I wonder if we have the video still. But they did an Easter egg hunt, and it was me and this is back when I think it was me and this is like a couple of years after Katie was born. So like this is like Liam and 8-year-old Liam and baby Katie are like the only two cousins at this point. I guess to be fair, I had the California cousins, but we didn't see them too often. But it was like you had me and then you had like one of my aunt's kids. Yeah. And that was it. And so they did an Easter egg hunt and they had these giant Easter eggs, and I don't know who they got to do it, but they had Braille clues in the Easter eggs.
Oh my gosh.
And like you had to you'd find an egg and there'd be a clue, and it was like, go look in Papa's grill. And so you'd like go in and there'd be like maybe a toy for somebody and then another Easter egg. And I just remembered this. And I gotta ask anyone if they've ever digitized the tape. But the clue... the clue was... Fee, fi, fo, fum. Go look under Grandma's bum.
What?
And my grandma was sitting on an Easter egg.
Oh my god!
I forgot about that.
That is funny for several reasons. I wonder if they got your teacher to do them.
I don't know who did them. They may have. I mean,
that is hysterical.
My grade school vision teacher, TVI, I guess, she was just the Braille teacher is what I called her. But she became very close to the family and like actually came to some family stuff and like, was more like a family member, really, honestly, than a teacher.
Yeah, that was the way of things. Now, like, that's definitely not a thing you see. That is absolutely hysterical. One time, there was like an Easter egg hunt at one of the local parks or something, and I went with my dad, and he was kind of using it as a, like, use your cane to find the eggs. I was like maybe 6 or 7, and at one point, we're like standing by a tree, and I didn't know it at the time, but Dad's like, hey, can I borrow that a second? I'm like, oh. Yeah, why? And he used my cane to knock an egg out of the tree.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, I will tell you as a teacher, like, I definitely had a couple students like, well, we have the one that we actually went and had dinner with her family.
Yeah.
After I left my job or whatever you want to call it. And it happens. I mean, you do become very close with...
Yeah, one of my students was Mary Mozzarella.
Yeah. So, but we are going to go get ready for some egg goodness.
And eat some lunch. And...
An excellent meeting.
Ha 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 ha.
And I'm going to go make some Italian beef sandwiches. I've got this leftover Italian, like, roast beef. And I've got 2 jars of, like, beef gravy. So I'm just going to go heat up the beef gravy and throw the meat in it and heat everything up and call it a sandwich.
There you go.
So, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we'll be gone next week. We might be gone the week after, too. I don't know for sure.
We'll be home, but we don't know what we're doing yet.
I might stream some stuff when I get back. Maybe play a game or two. Because I'll be off for a few days. I don't know what we're going to even do at this point, honestly. We talked about going to the arcade bar and playing skee ball.
Yeah, we did.
After Mimosa Day last week, I'm not really sure how hard I want to party anymore.
Maybe like a...
I'm just going to say that we went out for brunch. We thought it'd be a really good idea.
This was the Uber driver day, and so how we still remember this is awesome.
We went out to go get brunch, and you could get a mimosa for $5 or a carafe for $25. So we were like, well, the carafe sounds like a really good idea.
Sounds like a good deal.
The carafe was designed for like 5 people. I probably drank 2/3 of it. And it was probably mostly champagne and a tiny little bit of peach juice. And I was very sick. So don't be like Liam. Don't be dumb.
Yeah, it made for an interesting day.
It sure did. So,
like, I was running into walls. Don't do that.
You got yourself locked in the bathroom?
Yes, I thought I locked myself in the bathroom because it was... So the locks on these doors didn't look like your traditional little slidey lock where it's just like the little thing. It had like the larger kind of flat thing that you think you would use to turn a lock. And I totally did that fine when I went in the stall. Then I tried to get out.
Yeah.
And forgot that it was a slide, not a turn. And spent like 30 plus seconds going, oh no, did I just get stuck? I don't think I can fit under the door. Wait a second.
Yeah.
It slides. I'm free.
So we will see you guys in 2 weeks. As always, thanks for watching and or listening. Maybe there will be some sort of game stream. I don't know. So don't look for anything, I guess. But
if it happens and you have notifications enabled,
yes,
you will know.
Make sure that you have all notifications enabled if you haven't already.
Make sure you subscribe and click the bell for notifications.
Ring that bell for notifications.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. All right. Well, we will see you guys when we see you. As always, thanks for watching and or listening. Good night and good corn.